All right, today we're going to be doing lab 3-4, and as you can see, we're on the Walton virtual laptop and virtual desktop, and we are already in SQL Manager. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to open up our databases. We're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to come over to our WCOM Dillards. And we're going to want to go ahead and expand our tables because these are the tables that we're going to be working with for lab 3-4. All right, so we want to make sure that that tables is highlighted. That way it tells the system that these are what we're going to want to be working with. We're going to hit new query. And we're going to go ahead and type in select state average trans ANT as average. And then we're going to hit enter, and from act, and we're going to hit enter, we're going to hit inner join store. We have on mzag dot store equals store dot store where between 201 60901. Okay, and then we're going to group these by state. And we're going to order them by the average transaction amount. Okay. Now that we have all that typed out. All right, now that we got all this typed out, we're going to go ahead and come up here and we're going to click execute. And it looks like we actually have an error. So it looks like we actually misspelled something right here. Instead of trans, it should be tran. All right, and now if we click execute again, and here we are. So we have our average transaction amount ordered by state right here. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually save this right here. So we're going to go to File, save one as, and we're actually going to go over to Documents. We want to make sure we save into Documents because a lot of times with a desktop it'll be scrubbed every night since this is a VMware. So we're going to go ahead and save it under Documents. And there you go, we've saved it because it might come in handy later. All right, so now that we've saved this, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and open up Excel. Close. All right, and we're going to go over to our data, go to get data, where it's going to be from a data and from the SQL database that we had. It's going to take a little while to load. All right, now for the server, what we're going to do is we're going to use the server that we used when we were getting into the server database management. So yeah, Walton. The database, we know which database we want, because that's what we were working in. We were working in the WCOB Dillards. All right, now what we're actually going to want to do is we're going to go down to our advanced options, and we're going to want to put in an SQL statement. And I will go ahead and type it in now. So what you notice about this is that this is actually very similar to that coding that we put into the SQL. We're just going to select some of our transactions, and we're going to do our store by store. We're going to pull it from the transactions. We're going to interjoin it with store, and we're going to join them by the stores. We're just going to filter it here by these dates, and then we're going to order them by the transaction date. All right, so now that we have this, we're going to go and click OK. It's going to take a little while to load because it's a lot of information. We're going to use the current credentials. It's okay. It should load. There we are. Sometimes this data can be very big, so hopefully we'll be able to load it and it'll fit into it. All right, and it looks like we got everything loaded in, so now we can see it's in a table in here. And in order to do our regression, what we're going to want to do is we're going to come over here to our column Q, and we're going to go ahead and create a column called Arkansas dummy. All right, so you might see a little bit of a different thing here. I realized that I had made a mistake in the programming for pulling it, and we did not pull the state data. We only pulled store data. So I went ahead and went back through and pulled that new state data, and pulled this Arkansas. So now what we're going to do here is essentially we're going to make it so that way we can know if it's actually Arkansas or not. So we're going to make an if statement, and we're going to click here. If it equals that, and then if it's true, we're going to have it say 1, and if it's false, we're going to have it say 0. All right. All right, and so there we go. And now an easy way to check to see if it worked is we'll go over to here, and so we should see here, we're going to click on 1. And so when we click on 1, it should show us, yep, everyone that says Arkansas right here. So we know that it's worked. All right, now what we need to do is we actually need to add in our data analysis tool back here, because since we are on the VMware, it does not have it currently on it. So we're going to go to File, Options, our add-ins here. We're going to go. We're going to click our analysis tool pack. That's all we'll need. We don't need the visual one or the currency or anything. So go and click OK. And here we go. So it brings in our data analysis tool pack right up here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the regression itself. So we're going to go ahead and hit data analysis. We're going to move it on down to regression. Okay. Now our input ranges is going to be our transaction amount. So we're going to go ahead and click all of this. And our X is going to be our Q right here. And so we are going to have, since our M1 and Q1 are our labels up here, we're going to go and click labels, and it's going to show that. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. Oh, and it seems we've had an error. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to put the number in manually. 8, 660. Oh. All right, and now we're going to click OK. And here we are. So now it takes us out to our regression. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that everything is sparsed out. All right, and so what we're kind of seeing here to kind of give a little rundown of everything is we have our analysis of multiple variables up here. And right here we have our p-value. So it's not really 0, it's just that it's such a small number. It registers as 0. And coming over to coefficients, what we see here is that on average, the transactions in Arkansas are going to be about $9.44 larger than the transactions occurring in other states. And then in order to see if this is actually a viable statistic, we come over here to our p-value, and if it's lower than 0.05 or if it's lower than 0.06, we will it is considered a statistically important factor. And so as we can see here, our 0 is we have 0 for our p-value, but not really 0. It's just so small, so it is lower than 0.05. So we can consider this statistically important. All right, so now we're going to come back over here to our data page here, and we're going to create another dummy line, and we're going to call it online line hyphen dummy. All right, and because we're going to be using this to show whether or not we have transactions that are occurring online. So we're going to use another if function here. So we're going to call it if. And what we want to do is we want to go off the store number. So we're going to come over here to our store. And if our store number equals 698, then we're going to show 1. If not, we're going to show 0. And then we're going to close it off. And we're going to hit enter again. And this is essentially going to show us if the transaction occurred online or not. All right, so now we're going to do another regression here. So we're going to do a regression. All right. So now we're going to keep our transaction amount the same. But now what we want to do is we want to do compare it with Arkansas and the online transaction, and then the combined effect of both. So we want to make sure that we have both of those columns selected. So we're going to just change this over to BR. And essentially what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to choose both of these columns in here. We're going to keep labels the same because, again, we have our labels in the first row. And so we want to make sure that we have that specified out. We're going to put it in a new worksheet, and we're going to click OK. And here we are, and we can see our regression here. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure these are all sized out. All right, so what this is kind of telling us is now that we can see here, so now we're not just doing the effect of the state like we were with this other one. So this other one here, we were doing the effect of just the state on the transaction amount, but now we're doing the effect of the state on the transaction amount and the effect of whether it's online or not. And so we've kind of separated this out. So we can now see here that on average, our online transactions are $12.27 higher. And since we have parsed this out to differentiate it between the state effect, so we can now see that it's actually changed to where on average the transactions that occur in Arkansas are only $1.25 $1.25 higher than the other states, and that's because we've now parsed out this separate one right here to see if whether or not the transaction was online or not. Now that we've done that, we can see that we've actually lowered that value there. So just to summarize, what this is really showing us is that we can see here that a lot of the previous, influence that we were seeing in whether or not the transaction was in Arkansas or not was occurring because we had a much higher transaction count of online transactions within the state of Arkansas. So we were seeing that the reason why Arkansas was, before was $9.44 higher was because a lot of online transactions were occurring in Arkansas. And so now that we've kind of parsed that out into its own, we can see that the online transactions are usually at $12.27, and the in-person transactions in Arkansas are only $1.25. And that's not to say, this is still significantly statistically significant, and really both of these are statistically significant. And so we were just kind of parsing this out to give us a more clear understanding of the picture. And that'll be it for lab 3-4. And we'll be moving on to 3-5 next.